Now then, some of you were expecting to see me last night, but you saw Dave Dorn. So you were expecting to see Dave Dorn tonight, but you're seeing me. Confused? You will be. Now then, it is Wednesday, the 16th of January 2013, and you were expecting to see Vaper Scene last night being Tuesday, but as I said before in the first little bit before we went live, I was poorly sick in bed, covered in beef dripping and Vic. But tonight, because Mr. Dorn has now lost his internet, and until he finds it again, he's no show. So we've pulled Vaper Scene out from underneath the bed from last night, and we're bringing it to you tonight. So first of all, thank you to Dave Dorn, Dave Kitson and Daz for filling in for me last night. You did a cracking job. I watched it back earlier when I got out of bed, and I'm here tonight. So we are going to go in this first half, before I cough, into the second part of our little DIY juice tutorial type thing. Remember last week we went through the kind of equipment that you needed and the basics you needed to get started, and tonight we're going to make a little bottle of juice, and I have it here, and I'll taste it after. I've actually already tasted it, but I'll taste it when we finish this little bit. So see you in a few mo's.
And it's me again. Hello. In our second edition of the D.I.Y mixing tutorial, if you like, it's not really tutorial, it's more really showing you how we do things, and if we do it different to you or you do it different to us, that's fine. There's no kind of hard and fast way. What we're doing is showing you what we do, and if you haven't done it before, then this may well be of help to you. So last week we looked at the basics of what you needed: syringes, nicotine, a dilutant such as vegetable glycerine or propylene glycol, and the various bits of kit that you need. This week we're going to make a sample to test. And what I generally do, because let's face it, things do cost money. Nicotine liquid costs money, flavourings cost money, glycerine costs money, or propylene glycol costs money. But probably the cheapest one of those is the dilutant, the vegetable glycerine or the propylene glycol. So what I tend to do when I make my samples, like I talked about last week, as in those, is I make them just with VG, so zero nic, because that's the cheapest way of doing it. And then if you make something really duff, you're not wasting too much money. It will change slightly when you do add the nicotine, but from all the tests I've done in the past year, 10 months, is that it works quite well for me. So I'm going to show you how I make mine. And I would normally do a 5ml sample, but today I'm going to do a 10ml sample of liquid, that is, before chat goes mad with samples. I won't do the sample on camera. So let's go ahead and get this done. You can do one of two things. You can either put your syringe straight into the bottle, which I don't really generally do. What I like to do is put some liquid into one of my containers. So if I was making one with nicotine, I'd have nicotine in one, and my diluent in another. Obviously make sure that before you start everything is clean. You've cleaned your hands, you've cleaned all your equipment with hot soapy water and given it a really good rinse. And that's because you don't want any contaminants in there. Everything has been cleaned, and I'm just putting in here some of my pre-diluted vegetable glycerine, and this has been diluted with 20% vodka, because remember last week I showed you the deionized water that had gone really manky. So I will not be using that anymore. It may just have been a dodgy batch, I don't know, but it was in a, as you saw, an opaque bottle, so I couldn't see until I actually opened it up and looked that there was this gunk in there. So if you've got a clear bottle, fair enough, you can see what's going on. And hopefully I will have my distilled water soon, and I think that's going to be the way I'm going to go, either distilled water or vodka. And I did think about the possibility of inhaling alcohol, but I think at the levels that 20% is, it's neither here nor there, to be fair, and the alcohol will probably be vaporized and go anyway. So I have here some vegetable glycerine, and I'm going to make this with totally vegetable glycerine, and I'm going to use this Perfumer's Apprentice Dulce Leche, which is really nice, I have to say. So it'll make quite a nice zero nick vape. And I've got behind me on my monitors, I have a spreadsheet which has got a calculator on it. I've also got this. Now this is an app for the iPhone called eJuice. It's also available for the Android. So if you've got an iPad or an iPhone, this is really good. And the information that you can see on here is going to be exactly the same information that's going to be on the spreadsheet. So I'll just leave that up there for a second. So ordinarily, because I use 75 milligram juice, I would need 3.2 millilitres of the ENIC, 5.3 millilitres of the VG or PG if you use that, and then 1.5 millilitres of the flavouring, and that will equal my 10 millilitres. For this, what I'm going to do is add the nicotine and the VG or PG numbers together, so I'm making a zero nic juice. So 3.2 and 5.3 is 8.5. So we're going to use 8.5 millilitres of the VG. And I'm using my 10 ml syringe. I'm just going to put that in and pull out 8.5 mils. Get a bubble to the top. I've actually got 9 there, so I'm just going to push that down to 8.5. It's quite important that you get this reasonably correct. Doesn't matter so much with the zero nic, but with the nicotine based, you need to be precise, otherwise you're not going to get the nicotine you expect. So 8.5 millilitres. What I didn't talk about last week was these blunt needles. Very important for getting it out of here, because the way I use the flavourings is pretty much like a doctor gets drugs out of a bottle. I use the blunt needle into the bottle, and we need 1.5 mils of this. So as I explained last week, this is the same company and the same batch of syringes, so I know that these are the same. What you will find as you go on and as you clean these is that the writing rubs off. So what you can do is just go over that with some clear nail varnish, leave it to dry, and then that will stay off. And I haven't had any issues with any flavour coming across or any of the nail varnish coming across. But if you're bothered about putting that on, then when they rub off, just get some new ones because they're fairly cheap. That Dulce Leche smells really nice. I have to say, even with my cold, I can still smell it. So you've now got two options. You can either put your flavouring into the bottle and then add your dilutant, or add your dilutant and then your flavouring. It's entirely up to you. You can put it into a little mixing cup first, mix it around and then put it in. I prefer just to go straight into the bottle. Okay, I've added my flavour. I'm now going to add the glycerin and get this mixed, squirty squirty. And there we go. So that's our 10ml sample. Give it a bit of a shake there. It actually smells really, really nice. However, I'm not going to vape that today. What you need to do is something called steeping. Now, those of you who mix already will understand what I mean, but for those of you who haven't mixed yet, steeping is making up your liquid and then leaving it for a couple of days for the flavours to steep, to mingle. And this also allows for some of the more volatile parts of the flavouring to evaporate off and the flavours to deepen and mellow. It's very important if you're mixing flavours as well. So if this was a 2 or 3 different flavour juice, it will really allow them to mix and mingle. And if you remember that I showed you last week, now that was the same colour-ish, but quite a long time afterwards it has darkened and the flavours have really intensified, and you'll see that in your own juice as well, that you've bought. It does change colour as it gets older, as the oxygen works on the juice. So I generally leave my juices for a couple of days with no lid on, somewhere cool and dark, and if it does have nicotine, please make sure it's out of the reach of pets or children, because you don't want it to be knocked over and a cat or a dog or whatever to get the nicotine juice on their paws or lick it. And the same for kids. We don't want them to be, oh, that smells nice, and drinking it because they think it's a drink. So please be careful. Obviously I don't need to tell you that, but I will anyway. So that is how to make a basic one flavour e-liquid. Next week, Kat is going to show you her take on mixing and also an ingredient that she uses, and I'll leave that as a surprise for next week. The following week, Sav is going to show us how she makes her version of menthol using menthol crystals, and that's something that, as I've said before, I've tried and had mixed results with. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Sav makes hers and see if I can get some tips. So that's it for this week. Back to me in the studio.
And it is back to me in the studio. Hello. I've been vaping on that mix that I made while that was going on. And although my taste buds are slightly off at the moment, I could probably go a little bit stronger with that. And that was at 15% flavouring. And I usually start with a new flavour at somewhere around about 10% and then go up to 15, 16 sometimes. Depends on the flavour. Some are stronger than others, but I don't generally go anywhere above 20% flavour. And this hasn't darkened yet because there's no nicotine in it, and it's the nicotine that goes dark really, not the flavouring. So there you go. I hope you found that of interest. And just while I'm on the subject, last week I showed you that bottle. I've got a close up cam. There we go, close up cam. Showed you that bottle, and I noticed in chat there was a question: where was the duty sticker? Well, this bottle was bought in Cancun airport, hence no duty sticker. And this, like you can see here, that is the bottle of distilled water that I've now got. In fact, I've got 2 of these. I've got a litre, and that has now arrived, and I've made up some VG using that. And let's face it, this is what they use to make medicines. You know, if you get a cough mixture or whatever for the kids, strawberry flavour that used to be from the pharmacist, where they mix some powder with some water, that's basically what they use. So if it's good enough for that, I reckon it's good enough to vape with. Let's go back to here. Hello. And the whole subject of using vodka as a dilutant and then inhaling it kind of crossed my mind. If you're driving and vaping and you've used vodka, would it affect a breathalyzer? It's a it's a good question. I don't know whether it would or it wouldn't, and that's kind of where I was going when I was contemplating if that would be an issue or not. But there you go. I'm using distilled water now, and I think that's probably the best way to go. Right, where are we? Oh, 16 minutes past. Yes, we are going to go into a short ad break, and then when we come back, we've got some show as yours, and we've got the first in what we hope is going to be a weekly series of hardware roundups. So see you in 2.
iVaper and iVaper Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's iVaper.co.uk and iVaper-elixir.co.uk. iVaper and iVaper-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of VaporTrails.tv.
The GG, because you want one.
And now back to Vapor Scene on Vapor Trails TV. And we're back in the room, and I'm already running over by a minute because I waffled on too much about the other thing. Anyway, we are going to move swiftly along with this week's Show As Yours coming at you right now. And now it's time for Show As Yours, sponsored by Flavour Art UK. And this week's winner is Gerald Allinson, also known as Psycho on UK Vapors, for sending in these two lovely pictures. Well done, Gerald. We will organise you your bottle of juice.
Show us yours. Sponsored by Flavour Art UK.
Yes, indeed. Well done, Gerald. Thank you for your photos. I will be in touch with you after the show, and we will organise you a bottle of juice courtesy of our friends over at Flavour Art UK. And if you would like to win a bottle of juice, you know what to do. You want to go here, Vapor Scene at vaportrails.tv. I'm running out of photos, you know. There's not many left. So send us your photos and we'll see if we can get you a bottle of juice. And somebody who did was Chris Romano, who won recently. And this is a picture of him vaping with his vanilla custard that he requested from John at Flavour Art UK. And you can hardly see him. You can see his beard, just about. So well done, Chris. Right, it's me. Now then, Vapingdaz has put together a little roundup of stuff that's coming out, and what we're trying to do on a weekly basis. It's not going to be possible every week because there's not always new kit coming, but when there is, he's going to be putting together a little bit of VT showing us what is around. So here is the first hardware roundup with Vapingdaz.
It's hardware. It's Roundup. It's the Hardware Roundup.
Hi guys, and welcome to the first ever Hardware Roundup here on the Vapor Scene Show. My name is Vapingdaz. If you haven't already seen me before, great to be back, great to be with you. Each week I'm going to be scouring the forums on the internet to find what has literally just come out so that I can bring it to you and help you make a more informed decision as to whether you choose to buy it. Because it's so early in the year, there isn't actually a lot out there at the moment. As you'll notice, there's quite a lot of vendors doing sales right now. However, I have found a couple of bits, so let's move straight in. The first one is from vaporworld.co.uk, and this is the Cube Tube. Now, the Cube Tube mod is a square version of the Z Max. Now, it has such claims that it has variable power, adjustable from 3 watts to 15 watts, and variable voltage, adjustable from 3 volts to 6 volts. It also has such claims to have an intelligent auto PCB when in variable wattage mode to automatically calculate the correct output based on atomizer resistance. It has a 510 to Ego connector threading. It comes in a mirror finish and stainless steel body type. It has a 5 amp current limit and projection. It also has check remaining battery voltage, low battery indication and protection, and it also claims to have a reverse battery polarity protection. That is quite a word in itself, in my opinion. It also on the website comes with a list of instructions on how the device should be operated, and this is coming into you at a price of £69.95 from the Sigelli range. Once again, that's on vaporworld.co.uk. So, as you can tell from the picture, you'll notice that at the end it had a little square bit. We, the team, have been talking. We can't quite understand what that square bit's for. So if anybody does happen to get one or has one, could they please enlighten us as to what this little square end is? Because we are rather puzzled about it. Next up, we have something coming from our friends at Cloud9 Vaping. Now, this is the MAGA. Also, it is shown as the stainless steel mini affordable Genesis atomizer kit. So I take it that stands for mini affordable Genesis atomizer. Now, it states that it is ideal for those who want to try out a Genesis style rebuildable tank atomizer on a budget, and is coming in at £21.95. Each kit comes with both a stainless steel tank and a plastic tank, 2 drip tips, spare O-rings, screws and insulators, and some 400 mesh and 32 GA wire to get you started. with features such as full stainless steel, standard 510 connector and adjustable centre pole, 2 tank types included, 2 drip tips included, 1mm air hole, 2.5mm wick hole. It also goes on to say that one of the drip tips is a super short white Derwent drip tip. Please tell me what a super short white Derwent drip tip is. It also has an Allen key, a coil of 32 GA, and as already stated, spare O-rings and spare screws. It does also have an important note as well. It states that although the Maga may arrive pre-built, we do not test the pre-built coils prior to sending, and their resistance and operation is unknown. They strongly recommend that you test the coil and any coils you produce with a multimeter before using to avoid the risk of damaging your battery. As with all Genesis styles atomizers, the Maga is an advanced user device and requires the willingness to experiment to get the best out of it for your own individual and unique vaping style. It also goes on to say that other Genesis atomizer users are generally a friendly bunch who are only too happy to assist fellow vapers get up to speed with their favoured build methods. So just a short note on that. Would I use it? Probably not. I don't really think that's in my league. I think that's about all that we've got time for, but stay tuned for next week where we'll be bringing you more updates of what's out there while I go and scour the forums. So it's back to you at the studio, Marco. Thanks very much everyone for watching. Bye-bye. Bye.
Hardware Roundup.
Thank you very much, Daz. That was Daz's first Hardware Roundup. And like I said, as long as there's stuff out there that's coming out that's new, Daz will try and lunk it out from the forums and from the vendors. He's going to be in contact with the vendors on a weekly basis to see what we've got coming out. So let's just do a quick video. Here we go. This is what's coming up over the next 7 days.
And good evening, eventually. Took a little while to get things wound up and ready to go then, didn't it? But I'm here now, so welcome to Dave's Tackle Box on Sunday.
So there we go, I'm back in the room and not long to go now. So yeah, I was talking to my son and he's watched me make things before.
And a very good evening to you. It is Tuesday the 20th of November 2012 and you are tuned into Vaper
At Vaper TV Towers. Tonight being Wednesday night, it is time for the one and only chat show programme called VT Talk. Tis the Haze Hour. Again, Keith was just saying if it wasn't for the titles, he wouldn't come and do the show. He loves them so much, don't he? Oh,
it would help if I'd actually pressed the right thing after that, wouldn't it? Instead of starting it again. There you go, blame my head. At the moment, we're not sure whether Mr. Dorn is going to be putting out a show tomorrow night or not. He has no interweb currently, and I know he's working very hard with BT and everyone else to try and get up and running for tomorrow. Cat will update by 4 PM tomorrow in the usual places, on the forums and by G+ and Twitter and Facebook, to let everyone know what the state of play is and if a show is going out. You never know, you may see me again, or Mr. Kitson, or a combination of a few of us. That I don't know, it's looking at my time here. So hopefully Dave will be back, and if not, we'll try and bring you whatever we can, so at least the show goes out. Hopefully I will be here on Tuesday. I should think I probably will be. We may have some more from Vapingdaz. We've got the next section from Cat and Sav on the mixing, which is very good, I have to say. I've already seen it, so I know. So with any luck, we'll see you next week. Have fun, and don't forget that Dave Kitson is here on Sunday, even if he's not here tomorrow, if Mr. Dorn isn't. But you never know. You know what I mean. Tatty bye.